Here we go, Stocks by the Numbers, welcome back. And we had, of course, one of our main names on this channel have a great day today. As you see, Supermicro Computer, symbol SMCI, running about 17.5% to close out the day. $6.37 climb, continuing after hours, up about 80 cents, about 1.8%. In my opinion, we could actually see $45 here after hours. And this is why I was saying, hearing the news with the Hindenburg, and then when we got the confirmed date again, that's due out tomorrow, the 11th, this quote-unquote business update. And I said that once we got that information, I said, in my opinion, the stock really should get back. I know we were looking at like here, like the mid 30s. And then I was saying, realistically, we should be at the 40s, potentially even 50. So what we might do is see, right, this is the old support trend line that we were looking at, right? We had that big drop to those lows of 17. We came up, we bounced. You can see we stopped right to it, and then we ended up dropping below it. But that was our old support trend line where we were on the up and up after hitting those lows. And you can see that we broke down, hit the blue, as we were kind of predicting, and then we've just been on the up and up basically 5 days in a row. And this is why I'm saying right now after hours, if we go straight up here to this line, you can see you're looking at about 45 and a quarter. So we can potentially see that either now over the next couple of hours, or we may just continue to rise up tomorrow and stay green going into that earnings report. And then obviously, pending on what the company reports, will either pop up, in my opinion, to like this next trend line here of like 52, high 52s, or we'll have the rejection and we'll come back down here to like 35. So it really depends on what the company reports, of course. But you can see analysts expecting 61 and a third cents per share on revenue of 5.77 billion. And people are basically speculating that SMCI kind of goes hand in hand with NVIDIA. And because NVIDIA continuously kind of updates everyone that demand is through the roof and orders are coming in hand over fist, we know that if SMCI is tied with them to cool off these AI chips, then in theory SMCI should be doing good business and they should be having good demand and good revenue coming in. Let's check this Zacks article real quick. Supermicro will provide a business update February 11th, tomorrow. Regulatory disclosures February 25th. Deadline February 25th. Supermicro's inherent capability to tailor-make equipment for data centers helped its revenue take off earlier in the year. Supermicro collabed with chip designers to integrate their latest launches into its platform seamlessly. Company shares climbed significantly. Stock split to increase, Plethora of discouraging issues. Short seller questions Supermicro's accounting irregularities, which we now heard that Hindenburg shut down and they might have some shady crap going on their end. So this is why, again, I said that wherever the stock was around like the 50 level, I believe, when that Hindenburg report came out, that entire volatility and uncertainty, in my opinion, should be washed away. Because the short seller themselves shut down and are now in question, right? So you can't label it as a concrete report, if you will. In my opinion, anyway. But that's why I was pretty adamant about the stock getting back to like that 50 level, because that's where it was before this report came out. And if this report is just nonsense, and they were bringing it down so someone else could buy it that they know, then yeah, we should bring it back up to 50. That's why I'm looking at that trend line again, about 52.80, 85 or whatever. Company delayed its annual 10K. Yep, we always reiterate the negatives because everyone wants to beat it down and buy it at the lows, in my opinion. Despite broader issues, things are looking hunky-dory. Okay, that's rough. Special committee found no evidence. New independent auditor. Supermicro recently announced company is shifting to full production of its AI data center solutions platform, boosted by NVIDIA Corporation's Blackwell platform. Supermicro's architecture provides custom server design and complete solutions tailored to individual requirements. The news that Supermicro's server designs are built around Blackwell chips assured investors that the business of the former is gaining ground. So far, they're outperforming, but of course, we beat the stock up 80, 90%. So I don't know if I would really look at a stat like that. Mid encouraging start to 25. Update tomorrow after market close. If the company can highlight the positive impact of the high demand for Blackwell chips on Supermicro, its shares may rise further. Yes, agreed. Moreover, if the company announces more direct liquid cooling orders in the fiscal second quarter, it could boost share prices as DLCs address heat problems in AI data. Right, that's why people were saying, right? Remember, we saw that one article a while back where they were laying out, like, if AI really does grow and we're going to continue to see the demand and the revenue coming in over the next couple of years because of it, Supermicro is and will be a main player in the AI space. I don't remember what article that was. It was a while back, but this is what we were speculating as well, right? The growth, the increased guidance that they were laying out, the stock was flying to the moon. We got listed on the S&P. Then all of a sudden, everything sucks and we got to tank the stock down. Meanwhile, we're hearing reports potentially behind the scenes of Hindenburg manipulating stock price so other hedge funds could buy it. You had Susquehanna step in and take like a 5.5% stake in the stock as it was climbing back up in the 20s or whatever it was. I'm telling you, a lot of people out there bought that dip. And just like people always want to go back to 2018. Oh, they got delisted in 2018. This has happened before. Right. And if you go back to the chart, you'll see that even after getting delisted, the company still maintained its business, still maintained its contracts, still brought in the revenue, and continued to grow, and then regained compliance and got relisted on the NASDAQ. And now we fast forward a couple of years later, and we're here at today. And that's why I always said, in my opinion, really whether it's on the NASDAQ or not, in my eyes, it really doesn't matter. Especially if it's all about NVIDIA and they're working so closely, so tightly with NVIDIA, then again, unless NVIDIA comes out and says we will never do business with Supermicro again, that's why I always said, in my opinion, unless we hear a major negative headline like that, then I still see tremendous value here. My $200 price target still stands. Supermicro stock surges as key financial updates and earnings loom. Stock surge. Investors gearing up for Supermicro's fiscal Q2 earnings report. Analysts are expecting earnings. 75 cents on $5.94 billion in revenue, but the big focus will be on its fiscal year 24 10K submission. NASDAQ has given the company until February 25th to file the overdue financial statements. Recently brought in new auditor, BDO, and those who know BDO, and has reassured investors that financial restatements won't be needed. Still, Wedbush Securities is taking a cautious stance, citing uncertainty around the company's listing status and short-term outlook. While the firm sees long-term growth potential, it's keeping a neutral rating for now. Amateurs. With Supermicro beating EPS and revenue estimates 88% of the time over the past 2 years. What's that, 7 out of 8? Why can't they just say that? Tomorrow's earnings call is shaping up to be one to watch, obviously. Substantial unknowns. Wedbush again. Faces substantial unknowns, including its ability to meet sales expectations. Wedbush expects non-GAAP 61 cents, revenue of 5 point. All right, so everyone's all over the place. Wall Street's looking for 64, 5.89. I would die laughing if the company just comes out and posts like 82 cents a share on like 6.38 billion or something like that and just shuts everyone up. Stock will probably skyrocket back up to 70, 90, who knows. Quote, while SMCI's guide implied slower growth in sales than had previously been anticipated, we also believe that certain large Tier 2 cloud projects were delayed in late 24 given a slower rollout of GB200 and NVL72 systems. Quote, we believe it is likely delays could continue, to weigh on FQ3 CQ1 results, given our conversation suggesting softer demand for certain components tied to AI system installations. And see, again, that's why it's funny. It's funny when they break down any of these tech companies. Because it reminds me even something of Amazon, right? We got Amazon earnings just recently, and we did an update video, right? We looked at it together, and I know that maybe guidance may have been a little soft, if memory serves correct. Again, I apologize. I look at so many things, so I'm sharp, believe me, but it all runs together sometimes. But I believe they forecasted lower guidance. But what was the main segment that people are recently keeping an eye on with Amazon? I believe it's the AWS, right? The Amazon Web Services. And that shot up drastically, their revenue. And that's why, you come out with an overall beat, one of your main up-and-coming segments come in above estimates, growing nicely, and then you just have that slight negative, so they ended up bringing the stock down. And that's why, it's just this. I mean, I appreciate the fact that they got very specific here about these two specific systems here. But again, if SMCI comes in total, let's say, above total estimates, but, these numbers are slightly below what analysts were expecting, you know what I mean? Are you going to destroy the stock again? Because in my opinion, that, this is why, again, earnings are very risky. And if you're trading options on earnings, obviously you understand the risks involved. But overall, as an investor, again, in the long term, the way I would personally be looking at it is, if we beat these revenue estimates, let's say they post 6 billion, they beat everyone's estimates on revenue. Again, if these two systems, let's say, were slightly below what analysts were expecting, in my eyes, I wouldn't even care. Right? But maybe that's just me. But, I appreciate the fact they were mentioning some specifics, but again, just and it's a lot of tech companies. They'll have a good quarter, but this one segment was slightly less than what analysts were expecting, so the stock's down 7% after hours. And again, unless the stock is drastically overvalued, in my opinion, it usually seems like an overreaction, really depending on what the company reported. But anyway, random side note. Softer demand, okay. For fiscal Q3, Wedbush, all right, see what I mean? Now we got a different, non-GAAP, 72, revenue 6 billion. All right, so again, everyone's all over the place, so we'll see what the company reports again tomorrow. Given our lack of uncertainty around SMCI listing status, as well as near-term results, and with our more optimistic view around longer-term sales opportunities offset by our concerns around increased competition, we believe it is appropriate to retain our neutral rating. All right. To each his own. I think they're crazy. Again, in my opinion, $200. Stock, yeah, see, it had one up day, now all of a sudden everybody's talking about it. Someone mentioned they're up big on, what was it, SMCX, I believe? One of the ETFs that tracks SMCI daily. Big update, yeah. Everyone's just pumped right now and just waiting for this report to come out, but you can see the stock slowly inching higher after hours. Look at that, on the up and up throughout the day and just continuing to climb. Does seem to be tightening here, so we could potentially be wedging and we might see a little bit of a drop. But again, based on what I'm personally looking at, I think it'll just be very short-lived because it looks like they want to pump it right back here to a little over 45, back to this trend line. And remember, if it gets up here immediately, they might flash pop, not flash crash, but, they can flash pop it again, maybe meet up with this previous high right here. What are we looking at, like 48? That's why I'm saying, we could get to high 40s, potentially 50, going into the close tomorrow. We really have to see. We really have to see what happens. But this is why, again, I said, as we were dropping down here into the 30s and the 20s, I was saying the whole time this is an overreaction. We storm right back. People here, the stock quiets down. It's back in the 30s. Oh, what's it going to do? What do you think about SMCI? In my opinion, again, if I like the company in the long term and I liked it up here, then I would view this personally as an opportunity to continue to accumulate shares and build a position, and now boom. Now if we're on the up and up over the next several months, that's what I mean. You may turn around and a couple of months down the road, all of a sudden the stock's back at 87, the stock's at 94, 101, and you're gonna say, oh man, I was so glad that I stepped in, I bought some shares on sale, because we knew where the stock was going to go. In my opinion, again, if this report didn't come out and they didn't miss that deadline here, again, if we go back to right here and you just look at this and then this, and you look at the rest of the way tech has been growing and the rest of the way the market has been pumping, then of course off of the 500 billion AI investment as well, I'm sure you and I can both agree the stock would have broken up and out, and that's what I mean. We'd be at 120 something, 130 something. We'd be at new highs here on SMCI. Instead, we ran into a storm and we're trading at a third of that value. So that's why, again, in my opinion, I've remained bullish. Stock charts, I'll let you go. RSI obviously pumped up. Stock was raging all day. RSI 71 on the daily. Stock is about 10% above the top Bollinger Band. And again, I believe we were mentioning the tightening in the Bollinger Bands. And you can see a couple of days dropped and then we absolutely exploded back up. So kind of played with us here a little bit on the Bollinger Bands. But MACD curled, crossed back to the upside, and obviously has been up and up following the trends. We saw the slight pause at the 33.88 mark, the 50-day moving average we spoke about, and then of course the next day we popped up above it and we just continued that momentum. And this 200-day, I mean, this could happen after the report potentially. I really don't know if the stock will pump 10, 12 points tomorrow, but we have seen crazier things, so anything can happen. RSI on the weekly, middle of the road, sitting here at about 51. We got back above the mid Bollinger Band, top Bollinger Band on the weekly, about 50.5. So that's why I feel maybe this might max it out here, the 45 trend line. And then 50.5 would kind of bring it up here, which as you see is kind of where it topped out here, right around the split. But again, if we get near that level, it's probably, in my eyes, going to push back to this top line resistance, which should be about 52 and change. But again, if the company does have a solid report, then technically we really should be on the up and up. And again, if we go back to when the short report came out, stock was like 55.60. So that's why back to that 50-60 range really shouldn't be an issue. But hopefully they don't report anything too negative. Pivot points, I'll let you go. Pivot point on the weekly, 57.83. Pivot point the previous year, you can see was slightly above 40. Stock right now 42. 43 technically after hours. So we're well above last year's pivot point, and the next pivot point looks like slightly above 50. So that might be where they want to take it. They might want to just push it straight up to that like 51, 52, 53 level. Anything can happen. Again, my opinion, $200 long term. Here on the daily, you can see pivot point at 42.70, and the stock closed right below it. And then let's see what happened right after hours here. Well, wait, I'm sorry. 42.70. 42.70. It broke up and it wanted to close above it. You can see, look at that, 355, 6, and 7 was all above that mark. And then we came down and look at the last candle of the day. High 42.70. It comes right there and closed right below it. And you can see, look, the next candle immediately jumps up to 42.74. I think it's going to remain bullish. I think we see 45. But obviously, this is one that everyone's watching. Looks like people are piling in the last couple of days on anticipation of this earnings update report coming out. And once we do have the report, we'll jump on, we'll do a quick update, but I'll end it there. Once again, Stocks by the Numbers. I want to thank you for stopping by. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please drop it down in the comments section. I'm usually pretty quick to reply. Thumbs up algorithm helps me get more eyes on the channel, and of course, subscribe to the channel. That is our handshake agreement. That is how you help me help you. But more importantly, moving forward, like I always say, I understand that markets are rocky, they're volatile, and they're very uncertain. So I want to wish all of you success. I hope everyone makes a couple of bucks. Thank you for your time. Have a good day.